share something about emotions when I talk to people or had this, I guess, messages back and forth on sometimes on the social media about embracing your emotions and not resisting them or trying to like suppress them and think differently. For example, if you're frustrated, sad, hey, people say, hey, look, don't just rethink it or think it more positively and don't worry about it because you don't want to actually expressing that, right? That's what most people think when people think about anger, frustration, sadness, so on and so forth, is not dwelling in it and thereby sitting in it or expressing it outward, um, which essentially causes more probably anger, sadness, so on and so forth, right? That's the normal. Versus embracing it and fully feeling it, but at the same time, not acting out of it. There's a difference there. And that's what sometimes I feel like when I talk to people about, hey, embrace the emotions, welcome them. Their emotions are basically it's part of a programming. It's an automatic, it's a subconscious because there's a model that's built that's been broken when you emote, culturally, or community or family, whatever creates that emotion. And emotions are energy. However you want to look at it, everything in this world is an energy. Ultimately, it's energy, quanta. And that's kind of not even a question, right? Ultimately, science says the ultimate particle or ultimate thing is energy, pure energy. Even when they kind of scan a human being, like in deep, whatever special equipment, they're ultimately energy forming together to form the shape and all that stuff. And that can go into a lot of different directions if you want to delve into it about, well, are we real? Right? Because it's energy. We're stuck together yeah, with certain energy attraction to form who we are or whatever we see. That's one thing. But that also means our emotions are a form of energy. When we express or experience emotions, they're energy. And that's why one of the things that science has found is if you suppress or like don't acknowledge the emotions, they might come out in a different way, either as towards somebody in a different form or within our body, kind of form the disease or dis-ease because we have suppressed something we don't like. Either it's an anger or it's sadness or it's a bad memory. We don't want to be bothering us to make us sad or angry or hate ourselves or hate somebody else. So that's how, energy, in my mind, or what I've discovered is energy will eventually want to come out in whatever form, whether 10 years ago you had this incident and then you suppressed it. And then all of a sudden something else triggers it and you are like exploding, or you're completely depressed or sad, whatever the case is, whatever that emotion comes out, or maybe that evolves into a body ailment, something, right? That's how it comes out. So that's the point. When I talk about or what I've seen, it's not just me saying it, right? This is something I've discovered through reading books and listening to people, yogis or scientists, neuroscientists, everything. Science and spirituality, that's where they combine. The language, the methodology is different. How they express, how they talk about that part is different. But ultimately, the unification is is that like whenever we have emotions and if you suppress it, they will come out in a certain way. So that's where I see something, many times I get frustrated when I see the, the coaches or these influential social media people. I'm not talking about the big ones like Tony Robbins or something like that, right? I'm talking more about this, you know, some kind of life coaches or someone who is a little bit of a social media influence. They start talking about, oh, rephrase this thing into this, and voila, your life is going to be, great. Or you won't be, unhappy. Uh, because once you change the language, then boom. While that is true, right? There's always a way to think about anything because the content doesn't matter in the life. It's the context. So anything, you know, same thing can be different, mean different things to different people. Same incident can mean different things to this people. Let's say a group sees something, that context will be, registered differently for person seeing it based on their worldview, right? Similarly, when we, experience things, the experience is based on our past programming, and we resist that, that'll come out somewhere else. So that's the importance of embracing the emotions. And most 99.99% of the time, once I started practicing embracing emotions, sadness, whatever, anger, I'm not talking about like when you get angry, like you go jump on that somebody. No, I'm not talking about that. Being okay with that emotion, embracing it, understanding it, looking at it and saying, yeah, I understand why. Anger, being okay with anger, because there's certain model that's been disturbed, whether it's your own model or maybe that's a cultural model. That's kind of being broken, right? And then that triggers the anger because that's the response. Like, hey, you broke this model. We have these common rules. You broke it. So this is not right, right? That's okay. So understanding that's okay. Understanding, okay, that's my model, but their model might be different. Is the next thought process like you embracing it, saying, yeah, it is right for me to be angry. I can embrace it. I understand why I'm angry. Once you do that, once you embrace it, love it, like, hey, yeah, I understand. I like it. There's a great book. Rhonda Byrne wrote this, The Greatest Secret, or, Diamond in the Pocket by Gangaji is another great book, or Untethered Soul, or, Living the Life of Surrender by Michael Isinger. All these go into the whole accepting things and then embracing the emotions. Now, here's what the other trick I found, the other practice I found, important. There'll be times when most of the time it's like when I embrace the anger, whatever, it goes away. Like, yeah, it comes. I'm there maybe, few seconds to few minutes to maybe an hour or two, right? I'm sitting in that anger, like being angry. And then I observe that anger. I'm like, oh, okay, this is why I anger. And it's good. It is natural to be angry because the person broke the rules of how the norm is, how we are expecting things. So being okay with it. And sometimes I found like whether we're depressed or sad or something, sometimes we don't know why. And suddenly that comes and it stays for a day or two. And before I used to be kind of essentially thinking, oh, I'm this whole spiritual, enlightened and happy, always happy, always great kind of person. Or when I started my spiritual journey slowly, I thought I was evolved into that. And then I understood, no, it doesn't matter. Everybody, no matter how evolved yogi or monks are, they still will have things that will cause them maybe an anger or disturbance, whatever the case is. For them, difference between them and maybe me is they embrace it and then get over it pretty quickly. because they embrace it, truly embrace it, understand it, look at it detached, and then understand what's going on and why it's causing. And then, like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand. It's natural. So there's a whole process you can do with that, which, for the lack of, just trying to just go into what the difference between embracing emotion and expressing it, I'm going to keep it that. So the bottom line is what I'm sharing is do not mistake embracing emotions with expressing emotions. There's two different things. Embracing is accepting the emotions, understanding the emotions, and not making them wrong. When you make them wrong, then they will get suppressed and then they will come out. It's energy. Energy has to come out some way. Doesn't matter. It'll come out some way. Either it'll come out as a blast off, you are jumping on somebody for no reason some other time, or suddenly blowing up in tears, or feeling extremely sad for no reason. You don't know why. And then because you've completely forgotten that particular emotion has been hidden, and now it needs to come out. So emotions, those feelings have to come out eventually. If you embrace them, then there's very low chance that they will do that. Is that like something that you can become an expert at? Yeah, maybe, perhaps. Like eventually, maybe years down the line. What I've learned is I haven't nowhere near mastered it, anything like that. I'm way better at it from where I started, but not even close to being great at it. Pretty decent at it. Where I would say where I'm at, where I don't get too down or up or too angry, not for too long. I mean, there will be waves. When it comes, it comes. Sometimes I will sit in it because sometimes you have to sit in it. It's what it is. The energy has to dissipate. It takes time. Sit in it. And then eventually you embrace it. Once you understand it, you dip into like, all right, where is that coming from? These rules are being broken. And every reason, every right to be angry. It's okay. I understand what you're trying to do. Again, going to the internal family system model, you'll understand if you start digging into yourself, like, oh, that's where that thing is coming from, that anger, the sadness, whatever that emotion is coming from, because of this particular, part, memory, whatever you want to call it. So that's kind of wanted to share. And also, one of the things is it frustrates me when I, see some of the social media postings about so-called experts talking about this without understanding not only the spiritual aspects of it, but also the science aspects of it. And that's where sometimes I feel like even the spiritual people do not explain things properly in the science world. And thereby people don't get it because people who are not like too spiritual, they're like, he's talking about woo-woo stuff. And then the science people, like, the spiritual people will be like, they don't understand the science stuff, so they don't explain. So then normal people cannot put two together, understand it is both science and spirituality, but that is saying the same thing, just using different language. Same thing in a different way. It's expressed based on their understanding. Somebody obviously is guru or a monk doesn't know all the brain neurons and everything, how they work, the body chemistry, how that works really well, like a doctor or a scientist, neuroscientist or whoever, or biologist can explain, right? So anyway, bottom line, hopefully this helps for you to understand, whoever is watching, the one person, I guess, to understand what's the difference between embracing and expressing emotions. It's two different things. It's not the same. Embracing helps it disappear. Expressing it might not. Like if you're yelling at somebody or getting all worked up and then making it yourself wrong because you did that thing, right? That's how it happened. It's a cycle, right? And then you'll suppress it, so on and so forth. Anyway, hope that explains the difference and help you practice embracing emotions better.